Dwayne Johnson spent much of his childhood bouncing between homes in California and New Zealand. When Johnson was 14, the family relocated to Honolulu while his father bounced around the wrestling circuits for the WWF. Despite his father's success in the ring, where he and partner Tony Atlas became the Fist Black Tag Team duo to hold a championship belt as the Soul Patrol, the family's financial security was anything but guaranteed. After a string of monetary woes, which included his mother's car being repossessed, the Johnsons hit a bottom that was a million miles away from what would become his signature wrestling finish. Johnson and his mom, Ada, came home one day and there's a padlock on the door and an eviction notice. Ada started bawling, crying and breaking down. After the two were evicted from their house, Ada got out of the car on Interstate 65 in Nashville and walked into oncoming traffic. Big rigs and cars were swerving out of the way. Johnson grabbed his mom and pulled her back on the gravel shoulder of the road, as his mom was practically trying to kill herself in front of him. Ultimately, the family's financial disrepair forced Dwayne Johnson down a destructive path as a teenager. There were a lot of tourists that came into Waikiki, and there was a lot of money. Johnson was part of a theft ring that would target these groups. The theft ring would target the money, target the high-end clothes, and would target the jewelry, turn around and sold it as best they could. Although Johnson dabbled in theft, which often landed him in police custody, he also had the epiphany that one of the few things he could control in the world that didn't need financial resources was how he carried himself. The only thing he could do was train and build his body. The successful men he knew were men who built their bodies. By the time Johnson was 16 years old, he was 6 feet 4 inches, 225 pounds. He continued to bounce around high schools in the States, including stops at Glencliff and McGavick High Schools in Nashville, Tennessee, before a final stop at Freedom High School in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where he would finally put that ample frame to good use on the football field. Johnson played football for Jody Quick, the head football coach of the school. Coach Quick became a father figure and mentor to Johnson. As Johnson quickly flourished on the football field as an agile defensive lineman, other areas in his life began to improve as well. Johnson credits much of his success at an early age to Coach Quick. After a successful high school career, Johnson accepted a scholarship to play football at the University of Miami under Coach Dennis Erickson. Although he would win a national championship, he played sparingly, starting only once and appearing in 39 games with a total of 77 tackles and 4.25 sacks. Whether it was his middling statistics or his lowered rank in the pecking order on the team, Johnson found himself wrestling with symptoms of depression. Johnson graduated from Miami in 1995 with a Bachelor of General Studies degree in criminology and physiology, but he wasn't quite ready to give up on his football dreams despite the lack of interest from the NFL. He ultimately joined the Calgary Stampede as a backup linebacker, but was cut 2 months into the season. That was his absolute worst time. As a rambunctious teenager, Dwayne Johnson turned to the physicality of building up his body and ultimately football to overcome a rocky patch at home. Once again forced to sift through the rubble that was his life, it seemed only natural for him to once again look inward at what made him special, his wrestling pedigree. Johnson made his WWF debut in 1996, fighting under the shared moniker of his father and grandfather's names, Rocky Maivia. As fate would have it, he would square off against the Brooklyn Brawler, who was also the first opponent of his father, at a Superstars taping in Corpus Christi, Texas. Although he eventually found success in the ring, notably grabbing the Intercontinental title from Triple H while wrestling on Monday Night Raw, his reception amongst fans was tepid at best. Following a knee injury, Johnson refused to try and win back the adoration of the crowd. Instead, he became a member of the Nation of Domination alongside Farouk, D.L.O. Brown and Kama, where he embraced the heel aspect of professional wrestling. And just like that, the wrestler who favored talking about himself in the third person was born. Rocky Maivia was now just The Rock. The Rock dominated wrestling coverage and storylines for the better part of a decade, finding the charismatic pugilist holding the WWF/WWE Championship belt 8 times during that stretch. But Johnson wanted something more, a chance at Hollywood stardom. Although notable wrestlers like Roddy Piper, Andre the Giant, and Hulk Hogan had made the jump in the past, they always knew their bread was best buttered inside the ring. Johnson ultimately got his start when he made his Hollywood debut in 2001 in The Mummy Returns. The Rock was casted as an unintelligible half-naked warrior who later turned into a half-man, half-scorpion monster painted with some truly awful early 21st century CGI. It was pretty much the perfect way to introduce the man to the non-WWE watching universe. Although it was a minor role, producers and directors alike saw the potential. Rather than just be the tough guy, The Rock opted to play the straight man opposite of Sean William Scott in The Rundown and a gay character in Be Cool, in addition to adding family films to his resume with The Tooth Fairy and Journey to the Center of the Earth 2. In 2015, The Rock once again earned the distinction of being the top-grossing actor in all of Hollywood based off the strength of his work in San Andreas and Fast and Furious 7.